What's up, Ravens fans? Welcome into a playoff edition of Ravens Unscripted. The wait is over. A game to finally break down the divisional round Saturday night under the lights against the Tennessee Titans. This should be an unbelievable matchup, and we've got a great couch to break it all down. You know Ryan Mink. You know Keith Mills of WBAL. Obviously, John Eisenberg with us as well. It's nice to have you two here to provide some historical context on a old school matchup, if you will, against the Tennessee Titans.
Wow, throwing us old, John.
I mean, guilty. Wow. You call a spade a spade. I call it wise, as we've done many times when these guys are on the couch. But, fellas, we start, as always, with 4 downs. Well, there's nothing to look back on, really, at this point. It doesn't matter. So it's all about the opponent and what's ahead for this team, Ryan. So at first brush, what stands out to you about the Titans and how dangerous they could be as a team that's riding hot right now?
Yeah, I think they're a big challenge for the Ravens. I mean, they're 7-3 since Ryan Tannehill took over. They're hot right now, and that's the thing that you always talk about entering the playoffs. Who enters the playoffs hot? They're usually one of the most dangerous teams in the field, and that's the Titans right now. They got a ground game. They got Ryan Tannehill playing well. They just beat the New England Patriots. They're feeling real good about themselves right now. I'll be honest, I was kind of, as terrible as this feels to say, rooting for the Patriots in that game just because I kind of wanted to stay away from the Titans because they're riding so hot right now.
Hard to argue with that. Anytime you have a running back like Derrick Henry, have an ability to control the clock and keep the other offense off the field, you got a dangerous team in the playoffs. Ryan Tannehill's playing well. Their defense is pretty solid. I just don't know if they got the firepower to outscore the Ravens. The Ravens are playing at a ridiculously high level on offense. Their defense has been terrific the last 2 months. So, yeah, anytime you get to this point, 8 teams left in the playoffs, you have to respect anybody you play, and I guarantee you the Ravens will not dismiss them. The other thing about Tennessee, though, John, is that they have nothing to lose. And at this time of the year, sometimes talented underdogs with nothing to lose are very dangerous.
Yeah, nothing to lose, absolutely. I think the pressure's on them, though, honestly. I mean, the Ravens won 5 more games than the Titans during the year. I mean, there's a disparity between these two teams. I mean, in saying that, the Titans in January, you don't play the Bengals. I mean, you play teams that bring something to the table. But for the Titans, the pressure's on them. I think they better start fast. They better get ahead. If this game is 14-0, if the Ravens start fast, can the Titans come back on the Ravens from 2 touchdowns down? I mean, in some respects, the game could be over at that point. So it's a path to victory. It's a narrow path.
The one thing I've observed with this team, having seen them in person a couple of times, and then obviously down the stretch here, is they have no fear. And that starts with their head coach, Mike Vrabel's a former player. And what they did going into New England provides them with so much belief, even though the opponent they're going to face Saturday night, I think we can all agree, is much more explosive than New England. But when it comes to Tennessee, it all starts second down here with their running game. And Derrick Henry, 182 yards against the Patriots. And look, Keith, the Ravens early in the season had trouble against powerful backs. Nick Chubb comes to mind. They seem to have solved that problem. Is that what you expect to see Saturday night?
Well, they're built for that. You know, with Brandon Williams, Michael Pierce, they brought in D'Amato Pecco. So they are stout up front inside. The issue with Derrick Henry is he can run inside and he can run outside. And at times this year, the Ravens have been kind of vulnerable on the flanks, so to speak. But I would be very surprised if they did not make it really difficult for Derrick Henry this week. They're built that way. They're playing really stout defensively. And, you know, Derrick Henry is one of the best backs in this era.
You remember why the Ravens basically reconstituted their defense after that first Cleveland game? It was because they couldn't stop the run. I mean, Nick Chubb runs wild. That sets off, in this franchise where it's always been about stopping the run, that sets off major flares. We can't stop the run. So they bring in L.J. Ford. They bring in Josh Bynes. They bring in veteran guys. They're not big names, but they're veterans who know how to play football. And they're big guys. They can get into those lanes and stop the run. You're going to see those guys out there more than the pass defense type linebackers, I think. And it's all going to be Jalen Ferguson. Get ready. They are coming.
At you.
But it's the run stopping, and I think the Ravens are up to it.
All right, third down here. And I do think this is a storyline worth addressing, Ryan. The chance for teams to see Lamar in this offense a second time around. And look, you could say, well, Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, those are separate because those teams struggle. But now they get a Tennessee team, first time out of the gate for them to see this offense. Granted, he did have one snap against them last year. What does that provide in terms of an edge, if any, for either side?
To me, that was the biggest edge in getting the Titans versus another team in this divisional game, was that the Titans have not seen Lamar Jackson in person and this offense. It'd be one thing, the Houston Texans, they've already prepared for the Ravens. They've done a lot of the legwork from a coaching standpoint. The Titans have to start from scratch, and getting ready for not just Lamar, but just all of this offense and that entire scheme is really difficult for a defensive coordinator to take all that in given 1 week. Dean Pease needs to sleep some. Right? He needs to get a couple hours every night, but I don't even know if that's going to be enough. It's just a lot to take in.
How many times have we heard coaches all over the league, from Sean McVay to Wade Phillips to Bill Belichick, say you can't simulate what Lamar does in practice. It's impossible because no one else has a Lamar Jackson. So I think this is another case in point where, as you mentioned, Dean Pease has as good a defensive coach as there is out there, but how do you prepare for that? You can't.
I love what Pete Carroll said after the Ravens beat the Seahawks earlier this year. It said, yeah, we prepared for him, and we went through a lot of stuff. We watched film. We were ready. It just didn't matter. It just didn't matter. He was too fast. We couldn't simulate it. He ran right by what we were doing.
Is there anything to the fact that Greg Roman and DPs do have experience against one another
in the
Super Bowl?
It's amazing.
It's a wild, kind of reversal of spots.
Yes and no, you might get some tendencies.
Different
but
players,
again,
I understand.
The X factor is not just Lamar's ability to make plays in space in the open field, but now it's his ability, as Mark Ingram says, to diagnose what a defense is doing at the line of scrimmage and attack what they're doing in regards to his reads, changing a play, his football IQ, and we've watched it. We've watched him evolve in front of our eyes. It's extraordinary. Just turned 23 this week, and yet he is executing the offense at a veteran's pace. It's amazing to watch.
Yeah, happy birthday, Lamar, by the way. All right, Mink, why don't you kick us off here? Predictions, what you think you'll see, who's going to win, if you want to throw a score out there. Hey, why not?
Well, a wise man, Evan Washburn, once told me that he's looking at this make 27-17. I said, you know what? That sounds pretty good.
Oh,
that sounds pretty good. I'll give him some credit. I think that the Ravens, right now, they're favored by 10 points in Vegas. I think Vegas is usually pretty right. And I expect about that game. I think, like you were talking about, John, if the Ravens get up early in this, it's going to be really tough for the Titans to come back.
If the Ravens don't self-destruct, turnovers.
Right. Oh.
If they don't self-destruct, play their game, 30-13, I think, Ravens.
Ooh.
30-16.
Whoa,
I'm saying
there we go.
30-16.
Wow.
30-16.
Well, I'll be honest. We're doing the broadcast here. I'm hoping for some drama here.
Ravens scored
I know it's not
20
going to be
by
a friendly
showing up.
opinion on this couch, but
Ravens
hey,
scored 20 by showing up,
let's
man.
build this thing up as much as we can. A fun show just kicking off here. More to come. Love it or hate it after this. Welcome back into this divisional round edition of Ravens Unscripted. Time for Love It or Hate It. I'll present some statements to the couch, and they'll simply tell me if they love it or hate it. So first up, Keith, the idea that, as Ryan touched on, the Titans come in as one of the hottest teams in the NFL, and the Ravens, while one of the hottest teams during the regular season, for the most part haven't played since week 16. So love or hate that idea?
Yeah, hate the fact that the Titans are playing really good football, coming in here hot, coming in here with a really good run game, great running back. Love the fact that the Ravens have had that week off. I think history has shown in the NFL playoffs, the divisional round, the top seeds, more often than not, greater percentage move on to the AFC Championship. So, yeah, love the fact that they've had that week of rest, and hate the fact that the Titans are playing really well.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that's what the Titans have going for them here. You have to hate that. They're coming in. They're hot. They've been playing. So, of course, a Ravens fan, you're going to hate that. I love the fact that the Ravens have been off. I don't buy the rust factor at all, and I've heard that some, they haven't been playing. Lamar hadn't taken a snap in 3 weeks. Great. It's a long season. These players are exhausted. They're beat up. A break like that is a wonderful thing for a team.
Next up, the rain in the forecast. I'll get out ahead of this right now. I hate it. And that's not because of anything having to do with scheme, but if it's anything like week 17, that was one of the most miserable experiences in terms of trying to consume a football game on the sidelines. But there is a reality, Ryan, to what this could provide in terms of the way teams play if it is raining over the course of Saturday. Love or hate it?
Hate this more than anything else entering this game. I just absolutely hate it. I'm so tired of the Ravens getting big games and getting rained on. I mean, the 49ers game, the Seattle game, now, they won both of those. Yeah. But I just think Lamar on a fast track on a perfect day, given the weather, a sunny day, Oh, I think he's unstoppable. I think weather, to me, rain. Luckily, it's not going to be cold. It's going to be rainy and warm. But I think rain is the only thing.
And there's going to be wind. It's supposed to be about 15 to 20 miles an hour.
Wind is not good either. We saw that in Buffalo. So I just think if you have good weather conditions, there's no stopping Lamar Jackson. Rain is the one thing that can muck it up.
Yeah, wind is the key, to me as well. We saw that in Buffalo. If Lamar can throw the ball deep, I don't see Tennessee stopping them at all. Love the fact that the Ravens have done well in bad weather. They're a bad weather team.
To overcome it.
They run the ball, they get after it, but Tennessee can run the ball as well.
Yeah.
So, rain.
I got a puzzled look on John Eisenberg here.
Elements to me.
I'm going to appeal for another category. I don't love it or hate it. I'm kind of bored by it. I mean, it's like whatever. I don't think the rain.
This is a guy who sits in the press box and never gets wet.
Love
too.
it.
Right. I hate it for the fans.
We need to add another category next year. Bored by it.
Bored by it. I mean, I hate it for the fans. I mean, that's terrible. But yeah, I just don't think it's going to have an impact on the game.
Yeah, I also like the idea that Ryan Mink's now pitching ideas, maybe to ownership, to Cass, about putting a bubble or a dome over the stadium.
I'm not going that far.
Doesn't feel very Baltimore-like.
What hat are you going to wear, though? Because I love your hats during bad weather.
Yeah, well, here, I'll be honest with you. I mean, that was the first hat I'd worn in a game in 6 years on the sideline.
Look at the hair. You can't cover that.
There's contractual obligations that I've got to meet. Last up here, Derrick Henry. He's the headline when it comes to the Titans. So, John, love or hate that he seems, much like this team, to be hitting his peak at a portion of the season where most running backs are starting to feel that wear and tear. He seems to be getting better.
I hate it. I mean, watch that New England game. That was impressive. I mean, that was some great. And I'm a old school running game guy.
See, he said old too. I'm not the only one.
The war is over on that one. Definitely not the young Turk here. But no, I love a running game. I love that style of football. That was spectacular. The one-cut running. It sort of looked like the old Gary Kubiak offense, and yeah, that was a beautiful thing. That's going to be tough. That is the challenge.
Here's the thing: 66 carries over his last 2 games, I believe it is, for Derrick Henry. That is a lot of carries. That's a lot of wear and tear at the end of the year. Here's what I love about that. I think Derrick Henry, after he takes a few shots in the first half, or a number of shots from this Ravens defense, is going to be feeling it in the second half.
I will jump you here, and Keith, I'd love to get your perspective on this. Teams will say, conventionally, that's the way you approach it, but because of his size, it's a reverse effect. So a couple shots that he takes,
he can take a punishment,
and now
put a punishment on
defenses
defense.
don't want to tackle him as much in the second half. So it can go both ways.
The interesting thing is the Ravens defense has been best when it has a lot of defensive backs in the field. They've gone small, generally speaking.
I don't know if you can do that.
Do they have to change up their personnel now to get a little heavier, a little bigger for Derrick Henry? But it's going to work both ways.
I don't think Derrick Henry's going to suffer from fatigue or anything else. He's going to be ready to play. Reminds me a lot of Jamal Lewis. Can run inside, outside, and loves to run over you. So hate the fact that he's coming in here hot. Absolutely.
I'll tell you one thing. We were talking about this earlier, but the bye. The bye helps keep it has this defense fresh. That they're going to be thankful for that bye when they've taken some hits from Derrick Henry in the first half. That's for sure.
You know how he's not as much a factor in this game? Going back to what we said before. If the Ravens get ahead, how much can you just keep handing off to him?
Well,
again, that's why that's very important early in the game. If the Ravens are ahead, then they just can't keep handing off to him.
Yeah, that plus 90 point differential in the first quarter is going to be a valuable stat to keep an eye on here in the divisional round. Please put out that good mojo for no rain Saturday night. I think we'll all be happy, especially the old school man here, John Eisenberg. More Unscripted coming up after this. Standing up here, we got the big screen, so it probably means Ravens mailbag. And obviously, guys, this isn't an actual mailbag. Keith and John, this happens on Twitter. They use the hashtag Ravens mailbag, and the tweets are going to pop up on
Sonny,
the big screen. If we could bring out some mail to make these guys comfortable, that'd be great. All right, first up, what's the status of Mark Ingram, Keith?
Well, back in the 1950s, before there was, ultrasound and all this stuff, I'd really be worried. But no. A little worried, obviously, because if you saw Mark hobble off the field 3 weeks ago, you would say, man, he's not going to play.
And the way he described the injury, too.
Exactly. But the coaches say he's going to play. 3 weeks has gone by. Modern technology, modern medicine, the training staff, and all the things that you can do rehab-wise. We'll see. But, yeah, a little bit of concern for him, yeah.
Okay, next tweet. We're keeping this modern theme going here. This is a long one. Basically, Ryan Mink, Lamar reached the playoffs last season, but this will be Hollywood and a few other rookies' first playoff experience. How much can we truly expect from them, seeing that they haven't had experience on the big stage? So are the bright lights going to be too big for some playoff first time?
Too big for Hollywood? I mean, his name's Hollywood. I'm not too concerned about this, and for the biggest reason being, the Ravens aren't relying on their rookies as much this season. They're relying on the sophomores. This is a bigger storyline last year when you had all those rookies. This year, it's really on those second-year players to step up, and I expect that they will. The rookie that has to have the biggest game is Jalen Ferguson, the third-round pick. Like we talked about before, they're going to run at him, and he's got to hold up that edge. So I look at him. Hollywood's due for a big game, but I don't think the Ravens have to have that for them to win.
All right, final tweet for one, John Eisenberg. What do you think the biggest challenge will be for the Ravens offense versus this Titans defense? We haven't talked much about the defense in Dean Pease.
Well, it's a Dean Pease defense. I think it finished, if I have my numbers right, 21st in the league in yards allowed. So they give up some stuff, a little higher in points, allowed a little better at that. But what they're best at is forcing turnovers. So I would say, and if you recall Dean's last year here, the Ravens led the league in forcing turnovers.
Yeah.
So if I'm the Ravens, I'm thinking I'm going to be able to move the ball on this team. I just want to beat myself. I don't want to leave the ball on the ground. I don't want to throw picks. And that would be the biggest concern.
Yeah, quick thought.
Turnovers are holy grail in any playoff game. You don't turn the ball over, Ravens win.
That's what derailed the Ravens last year against the Chargers. They put the ball on the ground 3 times in the first 5 snaps or something.
First play of the game or something.
Yeah, I mean, so if the Ravens come out, and this goes to the rust factor that we brought up before, I don't expect it to be a problem, but that's one thing to look out for.
Yeah, all jokes aside, follow John Eisenberg and Keith Mills on the Twitter machine. Soapbox coming up next. We close out this playoff edition of Ravens Unscripted with Soapbox. It's a playoff edition. It's a divisional round edition, fellas. So you better bring it. Obviously, if you haven't seen the show, these guys are going to step forward. We've got the bell here. 30 seconds to wax poetic about something they feel passionate about. Ryan Mink, so why don't you kick us off, sir? Make us believe. 3, 2, and 1.
I tend to go into these games really nervous, I'll admit it. And I was feeling nervous last week about who the Ravens were going to play and how they were going to match up and all those things. And then Lamar Jackson stepped to the mic. And the way he talked about how he's so motivated after last year's loss, that there was just no way he was going to lose this game. Just won't let it happen.
10 seconds.
Whatever he has to do, put it on my shoulders that I'm going to get a win in the playoffs. It made me feel so much better. And it really reminds me about how Lamar is motivating his teammates.
1.
They're riding his back.
I love the image of you nervous, like at your desk, like with Pepto, just crushing it, just with all the maturations of what could happen.
Yeah.
And, hey, eating. News to you, you have no control on any of this.
That's what makes me more nervous. If I had more control, maybe I wouldn't feel this way. I go back and forth. I'll be ultra confident at some points. Oh yeah, Ravens, Super Bowl, absolutely. Size it up. Which finger do I want? And then I'll be like, oh my God, what if they lose? But I'll tell you, Marshall Yonda talked about how Lamar Jackson has just risen everybody's level this year. They're just riding him. And they're unafraid to say it. We're riding Lamar Jackson's coattails. He has that kind of leadership ability that you just believe in him, and his determination to win, you just get behind it.
Yeah. Wait, but we don't have control?
You didn't get the memo?
No.
The fax is on your
upsetting.
desk, John.
Even us old school guys, we don't have control.
You guys have control over everything. John, you're up.
Upset about that.
Take the soapbox.
I'm reeling.
You know what you control? The next 30 seconds here.
Thank you.
For your opinion.
All right, if this game was about fate, there could be reason to be concerned if you're the Ravens or the Ravens fans, because twice in history, the Titans have been the #1 seed. The Ravens have knocked them out. Now the tables are turned. The roles are reversed. The Ravens are the #1 seed. Fate, history would say, what goes around comes around. It's time for the Titans to score that win. But this game isn't about fate. It's about football. It's about the Ravens having the best player on the field, and Lamar Jackson is not going to be deterred in this game.
So we got our history lesson.
I was going to say,
right
leave
there.
it to the old school
Here we go.
guy.
It's
Give
not
us
even
our
really
history
that old.
lesson.
Talking like the early 2000s.
he's not as
I
old as I
remember
am,
these
I know that.
games, and it was the Titans Ravens
Rock 'em
history.
sock 'em, man.
YouTube it, kids. It was fun. It was fun. All right, Keith, why don't you wrap
got
us
it.
up here with some
You got it.
Soapbox?
With pleasure.
This man has knocked out as many stand-ups as you can imagine.
All right, here we go. Here we go. To follow up something about Ryan just said about Lamar Jackson, another reason why we love him and how he is so obsessed with winning the Super Bowl. You may have heard that Don Martindale and Greg Roman have interviewed for other jobs. Roman with the Browns, Martindale with the Giants. When Lamar found out about his offensive coordinator being interviewed by the Browns, his classic line was, "Chill out, Cleveland, chill out. We got a Super Bowl to win." Question was asked Lamar, "Hey, have you told him that?" He should know that. It was a
2,
classic
and 1.
Lamar Jackson response. We love him.
That was perfect.
It
I think
was- that
the
was an
exact
amazing
was you
moment.
need to chill out on Greg Roman.
He should know that. He should know that. Yeah, you got to chill out.
Very authentic Lamar moment right there. That was not manufactured.
No,
It's like, hey, man, we got something to do here.
Everybody thought that was tongue-in-cheek. I don't think it was
No,
tongue-in-cheek
Lamar
at
was totally
all.
serious.
And to your point about when he steps to the podium and commands a room, it's because you, for a second, is he serious? Yeah. Oh, no, he's
Dead
100% serious about his belief in himself, the team, what a team should be doing with his offensive coordinator.
Yeah, when he talks, it's must see.
Can't wait to hear the conversation between Greg and Lamar after that moment.
Yeah,
though.
right.
Coach, what you doing, man? Are you not going to Cleveland now, are you?
Wait, your career? We're not worried about that right now. Come on now, man.
Yeah, their concern is all about the Tennessee Titans and keeping this train, this season, this story going. We'll see what happens Saturday night. Enjoy the game, everybody. Fellas, this is a fun
great
show. Have fun. Good luck this weekend.